lovelies, you're here on a Sunday, and normally what I do is I do like a review video on a Sunday, but I wanted to actually do a bit of a Colourpop revisit because in May of last year I actually did a video kind of like talking about them, what I thought of them, and I wanted to have a bit of a revisit. I wanted to have a look down memory lane, going all the way back to like May last year, so we can see like if things have changed, if they've become more inclusive, if they have like stopped coming out with so many releases all the time. Shocker, spoiler alert, no. And just wanted to have a bit of a check-in and see like if they have really gotten better. So what we're doing in this video is we are going all the way back through, and I'm having a look at all of the main releases that have come out. So I went through their entire Instagram and I scrolled all the way back, all the way there, and I've had a look. And then because I still do watch like beauty YouTube, I just don't watch as much of it as I do like critical analysis stuff, kind of like the stuff that I create, you know. I wanted to see what other people thought, and I have bought things, and I've actually bought things myself. So if you follow me on Instagram, if you don't, it's linked down below all the time. It's just BronyClaire_vegan because Brony Claire was already taken by the time I got there, so whatever. At least you know that everything I'm using is actually vegan though. And so I bought things like the Lush palette, I bought some face gems, I bought self tanner, and some things arrived in complete condition whilst others definitely didn't. So it's been a bit of a mixed bag. I'm even using their brow products today. So we're gonna go chronologically ish by month and have a look at like from May and see things as if they are a hit, if they are a meh, or if they're a miss. And I just wanted to have a bit of a sum up and see what's actually changed about the brand, innovations, all that good stuff. So get your salty snack. I would be picking pretzels personally, but you know, to each their own. You do you, honey. Oh, and also I'm not really diving into like all of the individual face products and individual new tiny innovations that they did. Only complete launches I'm really worried about, except for one thing which I am making an exception for. So we're starting out in May, and I actually have to eat my own words. I was wrong. This Barbie collection, the pictures that I saw online do not do it justice from what I've seen, from what people have created with it. The Barbie collection looks high-key cute, but only for the palette. The lipsticks don't seem to be revolutionary. That giant powder, like the giant shiny thing, no. But the palette itself, actually not all that bad. Would it really be what I would consider to be a Barbie palette? It could have honestly been so much more condensed, so it's a bit disappointing for me, but hey, you know, like I know that this is when their formulas kind of like changed for the better. So this one goes into the hit category. And then straight on with a miss, coming in haute, or because it's meant to be haute couture, it's not hot, it's haute. This is very much like the company trying to come onto like the trend of like the smaller palettes, but just missing the mark in my opinion. I know that people quite liked the green one, but from what I saw from other people's like reviews of it, for some reason it's like the formulation of them in comparison to the Barbie one, it's like it wasn't as good. So I'm putting this one in a miss. The color stories are fairly uninspired. Like if you had monochromatic ones from the past, you'd be sweet basically. So it's like innovation, it just plummeted down because it's not a collaboration, which I almost feel is a bit of a theme. It's the same as if you had that Fade into Hue palette, which actually was just honestly a direct copy of September Rose Cosmetics Slush palette, which I do have. Like you compare these two side by side, it's literally like, okay, you add some pressed glitters and then you have like what Colourpop created with Fade into Hue. I still love my Slush palette. It was one of my favorites the previous year. I still use it all the time, as you know. Then again in May, You're Golden. Like, how uninspired is this? Like, this just screams meh to me. There are just so many color repeats. I don't understand what the actual point of that palette was. I really, really, truly don't. The So Very Lovely collection, which I forgot so much I didn't even include it in this. The colour story could be cute, however, I just don't see anyone talking about this. I never saw anyone talking about this, so I'm putting this in a definite miss. Then you've got the Child palette, which is of course from Mandalorian fame because everyone loves Baby Yoda, even though its name is like Grogu or something. Everyone just still knows him as Baby Yoda, myself included. Grogu's just harder to say. I know that people really like this formula a lot, and I know that it has like a really good following, and there's a lot of reasons, probably also contractual reasons why it's still around, but I fully get like why people like this palette so much. I think it works well for other skin tones. It's neutral but a little bit different. It's kind of unique without being like too like what the hell are they doing, you know? So that one, definite hit. The Sweet Life Collection quads. Okay, so these are really boring quads to me. Like, it's so basic. I don't see what is innovative about any of these color stories, because if you have any of their neutral palettes, you've already got these quads. The only reason that people would be buying these quads is because they're like, oh, it's a 4-pan palette. I don't see really any innovation other than the fact that, wow, you put 2 shimmers and 2 mattes into a palette. Congratulations. But I also do know that they have been improving the formula, and the quad formula is much better than like what has traditionally been in like their 9-pan. These are just boring and basic and blah. I'm definitely putting it into matte. And then again in May, off Melrose. I know that this is like meant to be an LA inspired palette and whatever, but again it feels very repetitive to what like they've got in the past. Like I've got the double entendre palette. Like I've got this double entendre palette, and you could honestly use this to replace so many of the palettes that they've come out with this year, which other people have also compared things to. This is actually a really good palette. This is 3 years old or something at this point, maybe even 4 years old at this point. Like pretty old palette, but very good. Sticking with May, the Sweet Treats quads. Now they have obviously expanded this line. The one that I've been using is the Just the Flush, because obviously the one that is this is smashed and I can't be asked, honestly. Like I haven't even opened it once and I'm scared to. I know that Amy Loves Makeup adores hers. I've seen other people absolutely adore theirs, and the thing is that these blush quads, because traditionally we've always got like 2 shades of blush from Colourpop, because they just decided to eliminate all the colors for deeper skin tones. And at least with these ones, like they came out with a range that could actually work for all skin tones straight away, which does, shocker, help. It really makes the whole thing a lot more inclusive, and I'm very, very, very glad that they did that. So yeah, honestly, like this whole cheek collection, because it has expanded and it's got so many different colors in it and variations, it's good to be able to have a bit of like variety, and I found the pigmentation to be really good. I found the formula to be really good. Like this is a good size. I think that this is a very practical size. The new giant blushes are basically this for one blush, which I don't really think is all that practical. That's all I'm gonna say. Then we get onto a big mess, which I don't think anyone will be surprised by when I tell you what it is. The Neons collection. What the hell was this? This is like neutral palettes. Like no one was happy with this. It was a neutral palette with just like one really terribly formulated neon shade. Like neons are very, very hard to make work. So it's like, I understand that they'd struggle, but I'm also like, why would you call it a neons collection and then make people buy like, what, 3 palettes to get 3 neons? Like, that's not what people wanted. People wanted an entirely neon palette, and I know that people were saying like, you could just buy the NYX one instead. And I understand why people would be suggesting that. I really, really do. And then again in June you get the Hello Kitty collection, and if you had the Fade into Hue palette, then you'll already have all of these colors. I saw Amanda's videos on this. She's very, very in-depth with her Colourpop ones. I'll have her channel linked down below. But like, she was comparing stuff because she buys everything from Colourpop, and it's like, wow, what was the actual point of them even doing this? The packaging is the only cute thing about this. Like the color stories, it feels like they've just repeated shades from other things. And it's like, okay, so what was the point? Genuinely, what was the point? And then again in June, Lust for Dusk. Have you seen people like use this normally? Because I definitely haven't. And if you had like the Bare Necessities palette, or even like the Stone Cold Fox palette, or almost any neutral palette, then you'll be able to like just build these colors again. And they also said that they're vegan, but then there's actually carmine in this one. So it's like, what the hell, Colourpop? You say one thing, you do another? Like that's really, really rude. It felt like a Jaclyn Hill cover up, honestly, and the fact it's still there really does bother me. Then in June, this beauty and beautiful collection got released, Lush Life. This is a huge winner. Like the only shade I don't like is this dark brown that I'm trying to use, but that's possibly just a personal preference thing. They're also trying to sell this with like the cheek dews and stuff, which all look terrible. Like I've seen people have them like 6 months later and they're all completely separated and disgusting. So I'm like, oh, okay. At least the palette's good. Like I really do like this palette. And then again in June, another hit with the Cherry Crush. Now this collection is a great red palette as far as I'm concerned. I think that they again did a beautiful job with this. It makes absolute perfect sense. Again, the cheek dews, why? No. But The cream gel liners, like I do actually like Colourpop's cream gel liners, even if they are quite soft. I do like them. In July they came out with High Tide and Fine Feathered. Do you remember these? The only reason I even know about the High Tide one is because Angie loves it. But again, like I don't really see people using these, so it's like this falls into the meh category, even though like I know that the formulation wasn't meant to be bad. In July the Powerpuff Girls came out. Now this I was a little bit torn on what to do with, because I saw some people love the palette, but that's only because of certain colours in it. I'm still putting this into meh. I think that they could have done so much of a better job when it comes to this collaboration, because the Powerpuff Girls have got such a beautiful colour palette. Like I loved that show as a child, and they missed such great opportunity with Mojo Jojo and him completely missing. And I don't care if it didn't match the reboot or whatever. I'm a purist when it comes to this. I know that some people like the blushes, but again it went back to the standard formula for the blushes, and they had a pressed glitter in the palette for one of the blues, and it's like, why? Like that palette could have been done so much better. You could have still stuck with like those 3 colours for the girls and then added in different things. You don't have to keep on adding neutrals into palettes when everyone at this point has got your neutral palettes. Then in July we've got another miss with the ice cream bites. I know that some people liked a couple of these, but I still don't see people pulling them out. If I don't see people referring to stuff all the time, I'm counting it as a like miss or a meh, because it's like, what's the point about getting something if you're not going to keep using it? Like that's why I spent such a long time figuring out what I'm going to buy. I mean, the one good thing is that they actually lumped all of the pressed glitters together in one palette so they could have a topper palette, but we should really be getting away from that mentality of like topping things with glitter that is obviously not all that great because it's just glitter. They need to just get rid of glitter in their palettes. I'm still stuck on that. Then we move on to August with the Astrology collection, the one that everybody adores, which I fully understand why. Wow, what a success. I wanted my Scorpio palette, but of course it contained carmine. Like some of these looked so pretty, but again, carmine wasn't all of the ones that I wanted because that's life. But I know that people are still using these, people are still raving about them. The formula of these is meant to be phenomenal, not just like good for the price. So yeah, I would definitely be saying like that is a definite hit for sure. Then once again in August, the Y2k collection came out. Now I'm putting this one into a miss personally, because even though the color story looks really cute, like pastels are so my vibe, even though I'm doing this for this shirt today. I know that people were reviewing them that they weren't all that great with the formulation of them. Like I think, what is it, the purple one turned out quite patchy. Like purples just seem to be a bit of a struggle for Colourpop in all honesty. But I do like the diamantes. I'm always here for a good diamante moment, so like seeing everyone dressed up like Bratz dolls, very here for it for my like nostalgic like 11-year-old mind. Then again in August, Coastal Coral came out. I'm sorry, who? Did you even know this came out? I didn't. August was just a good month for them though, because this is when the Tinkerbell palette came out, and yes, I am still salty because it of course contains carmine, which made me not able to buy it, which I am I'm still mad about it. I can't lie. Like I've dressed up as Tinkerbell so many times, I've got a Tinkerbell blanket. Tinkerbell's one of my favourite characters, so I have a problem with them for doing that, but you know, whatever. They covered the palette itself in glitter, so then you got glitter everywhere, and it's like, I get that you want to cause this whole fairy thing, but you could have just had it like a stuck on sheen if you really wanted to use the glitter. I think that the packaging art was so pretty that they didn't need to do that anyway. And some of the things that came with it, like they had the Super Shock cheeks, they had the Super Shock highlighters, they had some other cute stuff with it, and I just thought it looked so good. Very well executed, the whole thing, really, really well done. Then again in September with It's a Mood, meh. I really think that this should have been edited down. Like they're giant palettes, there's just so much going on there, and if you buy one of those you don't need to buy basically anything else that Colourpop comes out with. I'm just telling you that right now. If you edited down like that palette to like a 16 pan even, I think that you could get a color story that people weren't intimidated by and were instead inspired by. I think that once you get up to like 20 something shadows, like people just get scared of it. And then again in September with Plush Like Me, this is meant to be their 90s collection. The 90s really was more of like a brown eyeshadow moment, unless you were like a pop princess. It was just a straight up brown, but then they've added in like these sort of berry tones, but not really. Like, this could have been a lot better, this palette. and I don't see people talking about this one yet again. So meh. It could have been good, it really could have. It looked a bit too ashy. It missed the mark. Okay, this is the one that everyone has a very strong opinion on. The Hocus Pocus collection. So because they did this the year before and everyone hated it, they're like, okay, we'll try it again. We'll try different colours. Everyone hated this one again. So you can't win sometimes with fandoms, can you? Now again, the colour story of this, it feels a lot more juvenile. This one definitely feels like it's more aimed at a younger audience. I've seen the movie a few times. It's not like a fan fave for me. It's definitely not, but I will watch it at Halloween just because it's like a spooky movie I can actually handle watching because I'm a chicken. But like, this collection didn't really look all that good. The one thing that everyone loves is the candle from it, so I really do think that they're going to be expanding more into like that sort of homeware kind of vibe. I know that people really like that, but also I saw that the black lipstick that they came up with like just bled everywhere and was terrible, so I'm like, oh okay, cool, well then it doesn't matter, does it? In September, the All Kid You Not collection came out, which I think is stunning. A monochromatic palette which actually fills a gap in the market makes perfect sense. I totally get this. Again, I'm so angry that it contains carmine because this is a beautiful berry tone palette which I wish I could have, but I can't. And so I'm mad about it, so if you have it, I'm jealous. But also kind of not because I don't want to put bugs on my face. Like, for sure, still deserves a golden moment. It was in so many people's favourites of the year, and I'm like, I get why, I really do. Then again in October, the Play It Jewel. I don't remember this. I really do not remember this coming out. Again, it looks kind of nice, but what is it with the big palettes? Like, I think that this was possibly aimed at deeper skin tones because I think that a lot of these can actually work for a deeper skin tone, but they just barely talked about it at all. Another miss is the Lucky Penny. It says that this was inspired by like pumpkin spice and stuff, but then why would you call it a Lucky Penny? And it's like the colours just look really basic in it. So again, I'm putting this one in a mess. I don't see anyone liking it. I guess that they were aiming for like the really base, like what people call like a basic chick. I genuinely don't see the point. Another mess with their Halloween collection is The Nightmare Before Christmas. This colour story does not match this movie, not one bit. Like, there were never any pinks involved. Hi Max. Even if it performed well, which I think it wasn't actually all that bad, like, it's not right for what they actually did. Like, this could have been based on like a different movie for sure, but definitely not this one. This is not Halloween. I forgot to actually mention that in October they came up with a full Mba collection, which everyone was really hyped about, but then I have not seen anybody talk about or use, so it literally is like fan service but with nothing, with no longevity. So I'm again putting this into meh because no one's using it, and if it's just merch, then just make it merch from the company itself. Yeah, this makes no sense, even though, like I said, some of the colour stories are really cute. So I use these. I've used these ones before. They hurt a lot. These, still getting used to them. These are the ones in Lovebird, as you can tell. And then again, we've got November with the Mandalorian Palette, which I think they did a fantastic job of. This is their first multi-chrome that I've actually seen, and I know that people love this palette. I know it performs really well from what people have said. I think it's done a fantastic job. It's just not really my colour story, that's why I didn't buy it, but I know that so many people love it. I think that this is a definite hit. Then again in November, the Quartz Collection. I don't remember seeing this at all. Like, do you remember this? I definitely don't. From what I've seen from, again, Amanda's channel is that if you have the Stone Cold Fox palette, you've got this whole thing. This is just like, this is just a condensed version, but in my opinion, a worse version because they could have actually done a nicer, prettier job. Both of these in meh with the Smoke and Roses palette. Like, I am a sucker for a nice dusty rose. Oh, love it so much. However, I do have to say, like, this feels particularly too big. It needs to get edited down so much. This could be fantastic, even again if you want to keep it in as a big palette, a 16 pan palette, or even I think a 12 pan, this would have been great. But yeah, definite matte for me. I am very appreciative that this does not have any glitter in any of the mattes. I think that that's great. However, I still don't think it's all that fantastic or revolutionary of a palette. Like, there are so many comparisons that you basically don't really need this palette. Like, there's a lot of repeats, including in my Double Entendre palette. Like, you can basically recreate this and just add a black eyeshadow and you're done. Or even the Bare Essentials palette, which you'll probably have because it's quite old. Oh yeah, these lashes are hurting now. There is something about their lashes that just hurts. And then again in November, the Rudolph Collection. Now, if you know me, you know that I'm a sucker for Christmas. What the hell is this? This is so uninspired. This is a Christmas palette. Perfect, beautiful, got a whole video on it. I adore it. I think this is so well thought out. What the hell is this? Just a neutral palette with like a muted red and a muted green, like of 2 variations, and then that's it. The packaging is really cute, the artwork is really cute, but I'm also just like, what? I don't, the packaging is just, packaging's the only thing that really sells this. Oh, and again, November, huge miss with the Charmed, I'm sure. I never actually knew this release happened, I'm sorry. There are 4 palettes and I've barely seen them advertised. I haven't seen anybody use them, like that I follow at least. Maybe you have, but I'm just like, why? And then again in December, with a matte palette is Gone Matte. If you are just here for the mattes and you want the most basic of basic things, and if you're possibly trying to do makeup on your friends or whatever, then I guess it's just so big. There's every single matte, neutral, basic color you could want. But again, it feels so repeated. It's like if you have any neutral palette, you don't need this whatsoever. And then again in December, the Rosé Collection. This looks so different depending on what picture you're looking at, once again. Like when you compare it to all the other palettes that we've seen, I don't see what the point of this one is because the colours really aren't all that different at all. And then December, huge mess I feel like with this one, except for the Diamantes. I'm here for the Diamantes. The Feeling Bubbly palette, I guess you just want to round off the alcohol. But again, it feels so like, eh. The Feeling Bubbly palette I don't actually think is like inclusive for deeper skin tones again. It's like they're kind of going back into their old ways. And then again in December, another release, Stay Jewel. Do you remember this? Do you remember any of this? Because as far as I'm concerned, if this is what jewels look like, I don't want any. In January, the Chinese New Year collection came out with Year of the Tiger. Packaging is adorable, but this is just like every single company's like Chinese New Year release. A basic quad with a red lip with red packaging. What's different? It's just the fact it's got like the little tiger on it, that's it. And then again in January, because they just keep on pumping stuff out all the time because it's Colourpop, on a Buzz collection, like there's 3 of these palettes now. They're very much like getting ready for spring. They look quite pastel-y, ashy though. Like from my experience of using Colourpop like pastels, they're bad, so I'm just expecting a chalky mess from this in all honesty. So I'm putting this in a mess. And then again, their Valentine's Day collection with the Secret Admirer. And if you have like the red one from earlier in the year, the Smoke and Roses one, or anything involving some sort of pink, you've already got this. The color variation isn't really even there. They've just got like that one hot pink is what the thing that draws you in. That's it. Like they've got no depth or light. It's like you're just going to get one of the same tone, and that's quite boring to me. Then the final collection, which is the Firefly Collection. It looks like a good take on a neutral palette. I kind of like it, but again, if you've got any of the other ones, you can actually just recreate this. So it feels like another repeat, so it's going in meh. So from my salty assessment, there are this many hits, there are this many meh, and there's this many misses. So this is my very critical lens here. Of course, you feel free to disagree with me. If you've bought these ones and you love them, then I'm absolutely happy for you. I'd much rather people buy stuff and love it and use it repeatedly again and again and again and again until it absolutely runs out. That's how we should be buying stuff. is with the aim of using it until you can no longer use it anymore once you've repaired it, whatever. But with makeup, you just have to use it until it's absolutely gone. Overall, this year still feels a bit more on the flop side than a hot side. Like, I definitely am so appreciative that the color stores have taken on like a lens to actually be more inclusive for deeper skin tones. I think that that is a fantastic progression, and if nothing else this year, I'm glad that Colourpop have done that. They are still coming out with too many collections to keep up with, honestly. I can't. I just wish, like, can you imagine if they only came out with the hit collections, like how happy we'd be? But I guess it would be 9. I'd even be happy with 12, or maybe even 24 collections a year, just 24. Imagine, like, with those constraints, sometimes constraints can make creativity, which I think is great, but they're still the fast fashion of the makeup world. I totally think that. I just feel like too many things were repeated. There are so many neutral shades put into palettes that they didn't need to be in. But I do have the hope that because we had the Mandalorian palette with that multi-chrome, I hope that they'll actually go more into that this year. I'm also hoping for more vegan palettes because I'm so sick of bugs being in everything. I think it's why. We don't need it. So yeah, that's my whole take on all of this. There's something about these that hurts. Like, I'm so glad that I bought more of my Sass Beauty Bonds, but I wanted to see if these would work. No. And another thing is like the brow products. This is so dark, like my eyebrows look so dark. I get the accessibility of the price point, the fact that it's like on trend with stuff, but I think it's always good to like critically assess what you actually need when it comes to makeup. And ultimately, like, what palettes would you have bought if you haven't bought any, or do you have any regrets of things that you bought from them? Because I'm definitely regretting this. Oh, hurts so much. If my eyes are going red, that's why. Because for me, the palettes that I regret not being able to buy are the All Kid You Not and the Tinkerbell. Like, I would 100% have loved both of those palettes and be using them a lot. But yeah, I'm so glad that you were here for this. I hope that you enjoyed this shade that was being thrown, because I'm always here for it. And I'll see you again on Tuesday for a deep dive. And on Tuesday is the first of the Valentine's videos. The following Tuesday we're going to be another Valentine's video, and then we're going to talk about Pamela Anderson. And thank you very much for voting in my polls, because in March we're going to be talking about Whitney Houston, because I think there's a lot to be talked about with Whitney, a lot. So yeah, thank you lovelies so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you again next Sunday for an actual review. I promise it will be a review then, because I'll have actually had some time to use these products. Thanks lovelies, bye! I feel like a Friends character in this shirt, but it's very cute. I do like it. It's a nice green. Thank you for telling me to buy it.